It moved the front line of action against ecological catastrophe into the cities. It moved the front line to people everywhere. It was isolated resistance, pockets of resistance against specific projects, but the rebellion brought it right into the heart of cities. It changed the front line. It changed the conversation. But the front line has to change again. Just Stop Oil have moved the front line. And it's an amazing effort that they've made to move the front line. So now we need to get deeper. We need to get more radical. A few years ago, they made a declaration of rebellion. Today, I would like us to make a declaration of revolution.
Tell them.
I want to tell the truth. I want to praise where it's due, and I want to be critical where that is needed, and make our movement stronger, better, and more radical. Because we must be more radical. That word has a real meaning. It will decide whether our movement is truly successful or not. Because there are things that we can do to reduce emissions here for independence and security. And there are things we must do for justice everywhere. We have a responsibility to have a vision. We must see further for everyone's sake. We should not yet celebrate that awareness of the crisis we are in is becoming mainstream. Why? Because that is a two-way street. We see ourselves now reflected in a very northern and white-dominated mainstream. The meaning of the emergency, in terms of the scale of the response, is becoming more visible. But we have not yet decided where the changes will come from. Will they create further division and inequality between North and South? Or will they repair? It is not yet certain. Artisanal miners in the Congo are being forced from their lands because Glencore, the mining giant which supplies Tesla with cobalt for its batteries, has access to finance which mining cooperatives do not. It has found ways and paved new dirt tracks of corruption to buy the land these miners were born on. The artisanal miners have nowhere to go. Jobless, whole families go hungry in a country that should be one of the wealthiest on earth. But instead, through a system pioneered by individuals in the City of London and New York, it has been kept hooked, dependent on a trickle of foreign investment that marks the flood of stolen wealth escaping these people whose hands receive minuscule wages in return for carrying the rarest metals. This is capitalism. This is green capitalism. We have a responsibility to ask, after oil, then what? That is what tactics means. The global oil blockade is beautiful, but it is the front line, it is not the vision. Let us be clear, and many more will be motivated to join the front, if they know that there is a vision. What can stop the burning of the Amazon while Brazil's debts have risen to 90% of GDP? A payday loan from the IMF?
Cancel the debt!
Who heard Ecuador begging to protect areas of the Galapagos at COP26? Ecuador begged the North to cancel the debt so that it would not need to develop that land, driving indigenous people into cities and species towards extinction, and releasing gases into the air to pay interest to creditors here in the UK, Europe, the US. So often we pass the mic, but we don't listen. We like to wag our powerful white fingers, but we don't dare to follow where they point. There is an economic warfare going on, and everyone's wealth is involved in it. And while movements aim to cut off the oily head of the monster over here, we see that it is a hydra, and 5 more heads will appear, with teeth. Do we wonder why the earth cannot heal? Meanwhile, the inequality grows, and the green transition will cost people who are brown and black more than it costs the white. This is the green hydra of capitalism. Climate change is the symptom, not the disease. We must strike not only at the heart of the monster, but aim squarely at the heart of it. We must strike not only at the heads of the monster, but at the heart of the monster, at the system's root, and that is debt, globalized finance, capitalism, and inequality. Greenpeace celebrated their 50th anniversary last year. For those 50 years, the world has been getting hotter quicker, because they have been fighting the hydra. And I say this with love. I stand with Greenpeace as I stand with XR today. The yoke of capitalism, in which people are forced to labour, erases any small gains we make in a cloud of extraction and exploitation and profit. I say this with fraternity and belief. They sailed ships into nuclear zones and against Russian whaling fleets. We have stopped whole cities. We are all one movement of movements, but we don't have 50 more years. Extinction Rebellion have expanded the front line. We have experimented, we have inspired, we have annoyed, we have succeeded, and we have failed. Now we must change, and we can, and we must. We must take aim at that yoke of capitalism. We must take aim at system change. We must take aim at the heart of the beast, at the root of the disease, not at its heads, and build our coalitions and our revolution there. This is the declaration of revolution. On Tuesday this week, Sri Lanka didn't pay its debt.
Tell them that's my country. That's
On
my
Monday,
country. Tell them.
BlackRock, one of the largest asset managers in the world, refused to restructure Zambia's debt. This will cause currency depreciation, making everything more expensive. People will suffer. The suffering will go on for years. 54 countries are in debt distress right now. These debts are odious. They are colonial. There is no justification for this. Debt weighs like a knee on the neck. Our role in the North is vital because it is a British knee, an American knee, a European knee. Because it's here that financial laws are made that govern the financial flows of national central banks and globalized private creditors and the bonds themselves, stimulating blind economic growth. In the North, we have a responsibility to be the most radical, and we are not there yet. Because the body of the monster and its history is here. Climate change is about more than clean air. It's about the incentive to repair, and that's impossible while people can't breathe. And people can't breathe in the UK either today due to rising prices and inflation. 40% of people using food banks are in debt to the welfare state. And there are more food banks now than branches of McDonald's. And these people want to repair too, but they cannot, because the system is against them. It's a trap, and there is no power behind them. That is what we can do. That, I believe, is the strategy we must adopt in order to build this movement across the North. That is what we are beginning with the Jubilee movement, and I offer it to XR today. We must build the power behind people. What does that mean? I was talking to someone in my very white family recently, and we got on to talking about black power. They had no idea what it meant historically, so I repeated Stokely Carmichael. When you see an individual white boy, you are not afraid of that individual white boy. What you're afraid of is the power that he represents, because behind him is the local police force, the state militia, the army, the navy, the air force. When you see an African, there is no power behind him. There is no one speaking for his interests. There is no one to protect him. I sometimes feel like environmental movements in the North have an unspoken hope that they will inevitably succeed if only they keep doing their thing, because deep down there is an awareness of white power. It is this feeling that is supercharged in the arrogance that defined the culture of the boarding school that the Prime Minister and a huge portion of the elite in this country and many white European countries attend. White power. I sometimes fear that the environmental movement is not trying to build black power because it thinks that white power will do it. It won't. Because climate change is a black power struggle, because climate change at its heart is an inequality struggle. Symptom, not disease.
Tell them. Tell them, yeah. Woo! Woo!
I say all this with love, and I know it's received with love. I've been here with Extinction Rebellion for a long time, and I love every single individual who is here. We need to let in the criticism that will make us stronger. We can change. We can be the revolution. We must learn, truly learn what it means. What black power means, what building power behind people means, and not borrow history, not borrow the history of movements like the arrogant arseholes of the Oxford Debating Society to suit our powerful ambitions and our narcissism. We need to build the power of unions and working class communities. We need to build the power of the poor. We need to build the power of debtors. We need to build the power of black and brown people, people of colour. We need to build the power of women, of gay people, lesbian people, trans people, queer people. We need to build the power of disabled people and neurodiverse people. We need power behind every marginalised person. But first we need to take the knee off the necks. We need to show with our clear aim what the knee is and where it's coming from. Because every one of the categories I just mentioned, gender, ethnicity, sexuality, ability, is accompanied by inequality. And every inequality is accompanied by a pay gap, a wealth gap, an ownership gap, and debt. And the debt is a trap. Someone owns the debt, not you. Someone charges rent for the money in your pocket, for the business you want to start, and the healthcare you cannot live without. Power. This fight, when the aim is right, is a fight for all of those communities. It's a fight for all people, and it's a fight for the planet. But it begins with them. But when the aim is wrong, it is not. When the aim lacks vision behind the front line, all we are doing then is making more finance available for Glencore. I mean it. That is the truth. So the choice is stark. We must strike at the root. We must strike for climate justice. A few years ago they declared rebellion. This is the declaration of revolution. People are suffering right here. UK pensions are invested against the people's interests. It's important to remind yourself every day that stocks are not manipulated to help people, to drive down the price of oil or wheat or any goods for consumers. But it is possible. In fact, governments did that before the 1970s. But then the IMF went into the south and offered loans on the condition that states reduce their stockpiles in order to increase their exposure to markets, which was supposed to drive up investments. This global exposure has led to awful things. It led to more than 200 billion being stripped from sub-Saharan Africa in the first months of the pandemic. It has led to mass, chronic, policy-induced impoverishment and the driving of indigenous people from their lands. Right now, northern companies are buying up land in the south for carbon offsets, driving up the price of land. Here is your virtue. The profit motive, the growth motive, the individualism motive, the extraction motive, the exploitation motive, the pollution motive is still there. Impoverished nations cannot even issue green bonds. So how will the South develop on its own terms? The whole thing is backwards. One simple thing needs to happen first. Cancel the debt. Without that, all the money transfer, all the inadequate loss and damage and reparations is tokenism. It comes from the public and boomerangs back into the wallets of private creditors with a pat on the back that makes me angry to think about. Debt cancellation is the beginning of repair. It's taking the knee off. It's letting people breathe. What can we do? The Debt for Climate movement right now is organising a mobilisation against the G7 at the end of June. Please join that. Keep working Extinction Rebellion. You choose. You choose the movement you want. Be bold now. It's your responsibility. The revolution is just beginning. The work is just beginning. Everything hangs in the balance. Cancel debt. Cancel capitalism. Cancel climate change. In that order, no other.
Woo! Tell him! Tell him! Yeah! That was great. Thank you. Thank you for that. Cheers. Thank you. That was great. Thank you for that.
Thank you so much, Brother Rob. Thank you.
Cheers for that. Thank you.
A very brief, sorry for this unscripted thing, I'll be very brief. That was no word there for non-humans. 99.9999% of all living things are non-humans. Most people are not human people. And I'm fighting for a future where humans survive, but so does everything else as well. And all of these terrible atrocities of colonialism, imperialism and debt, I've been campaigning against that myself for decades and seen us fail and go backwards and achieve nothing. So that's why I'm with Extinction Rebellion. We have to tie everything together. I'm in this because I want to look at the whole complete fixed picture of everything, not one little thing. Because to fix one thing, we have to fix everything, unfortunately. And I come from a background as a scientist, scientific materialist, reductionist, ecologist, and I was taught that animals have no inner lives, and I've been pleased to discover in my lifetime that science is moving towards seeing that all living things have inner lives. They are people too, and they're not resources to be utilised. And as an ecologist, reluctantly, even if you don't care about other living things, reluctantly, our survival on this planet relies on rebuilding the planet, looking for co-thriving of all living things, not looking at nature as how it serves us, not looking at its resources, looking at the big picture. Justice applies to non-humans too. Justice, which is just human-centric, is injustice. I'm sorry.
Nicely said.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Right, we're just about getting ready to move. Dora's going to give you some instructions before we move. But before we do that, can I please ask you to repeat after me? I may be
an individual,
but I refuse
but I refuse
to be a bystander.
to be a bystander. Tell him,
I may be
I may be
an individual,
an individual,
but I am not powerless.
I'm not powerless.
Together,
Together,
this is
the power
of the powerless.
of the powerless. Tell
So
him,
we gotta move.
yes, yes, we gotta move, yeah. Woo!
Thank you, that's so incredibly powerful. I hope you are all ready because we are going now. So, as you go and make your way behind the Simba band, please do make sure to pick up flags from the pink gazebos, and there is a big white banner where I'm pointing right now. Please make sure you give a hand and support that big white banner. It's going to play an amazingly key role. So please do help there. Okay, so we are going to line up behind the Simba band over there right now. Let's go!
March is about to start. Thank you for that. We're in the midst of, say, Extinction Rebellion. The march is about to start. You can see people around, got their banners, having some homemade Indian takeaway, enjoying themselves. We got, the drums out here, right? We got, the drums out here, starting. The drums have sounded. The drums have sounded. They're blocking the road. That's what's happening. That's what's happening. Sorry guys. Sorry. Blocking the road, eh? Shut up. Shut up now.
Government Department for Business Justice, a department that is currently licensing no oil and gas in the North Sea.
Shut up!
Hey, let's get going!
So, you know, we got, what's your name?
Cassandra.
Cassandra, right? So we got Cassandra here, you know, we just spoke on a few matters, you could say, and you got a newspaper. Can I just grab that newspaper quickly, if you don't mind? So your article, I tried to get a little snippet and then put it on the video, you know, so.
You just share the page, right?
Page, and where's your article? What's it about?
It's about child Q and racist police out of our schools.
Okay, and also the event.
We have an event coming up. It's called Saving Our Planet from Capitalism. It's a film showing of a documentary called Cuba's Life Task about Cuba's 100-year plan to save the planet. And it'll be on Wednesday, 27th of April at 7 p.m. at Basil Jellicoe Hall, NW1 1LE. You can find out about it at RCGFRFI on Instagram.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, you know, going back to, you know, the climate conference, right, with them saying, oh yeah, you know what, 2030 we're going to have these agreed goals, 2050 these agreed goals, right? So you're saying capitalism, right? Why do you think, you know, say the world leaders are ignorant, right? Is it, most people will say profits over people because they have to worry about the GDP, gross domestic product, right? Is there any other factors, would you say, why?
Yeah, I don't think they are ignorant. I think they're capitalist. I think they, like I said before, for capitalism to create profits, which is the accumulation of profits is the only goal of capitalism. You have to plunder the earth, you have to get these materials out of the planet, and you have to obviously exploit people. I don't think it's anything to do with ignorance. I think they're well aware of what they're doing, and they understand that if they stop even for a moment, they could lose so many profits. So they're making the decision profits over people because that's what capitalism is.
So it's profits over people?
Yeah, it could definitely.
So what do you think about, you know, say, you know, Narendra Modi, right? You know, India's Prime Minister, last minute coming up and saying, oh yeah, you know what, we can't phase out coal, we have to phase down coal. Like, do you think coal is a big issue?
Yeah, but I don't think it's necessarily any one or whatever material or anything. It's the system that creates it. There's sustainable ways of doing most things. If you had a system that was prioritizing the earth, there would be ways to find alternatives. So I don't think it's like under capitalism we can be like, let's phase out coal, because then let's look at like green like solutions. They want electric cars, for example. Cool, so where does the lithium come from for the batteries for electric cars? It comes from Bolivia, where they sponsor coups because they don't want Bolivia to profit from the lithium. All the like kind of green minerals are still being, you know, dug out of the earth by children in the Congo, for example.
So it's exploitation beyond exploitation.
Yeah.
Okay, to finish off, where do you see, you know, this movement, and where do you see, you know, say, saving the planet going in the next 20 years? You don't have to be pessimistic or optimistic, just be realistic, but, you know, have a goal. Where do you think it's going?
Well, we have a slogan. We say socialism or extinction. So hopefully this movement will learn from Cuba. We'll see that capitalism offers no green solution, and the only way that we can change the world and save the world is to build a revolutionary people's movement in imperialist Britain and fight for socialism.
You're smart.
Thank you.
It's right, thank you. This really is a, you know, say great turnout. You know, you got people who have, you know, say, different objectives when it comes to Extinction Rebellion. You got, you know, say, fossil fuels, climate change, capitalism, exploitation. As you can see at Hyde Park right now, there's different groups of people. If you see, I've just, you know, say, met up with Cassandra. She talked about, you know, say, Cuba. Obviously, you know, people are quite curious. They're coming over. You know, some sort of printing going on here. What were you trying to do?
Yeah, you can choose a t-shirt and then put it on.
Okay, so is it on t-shirts or little blankets, by the way? Blankets or t-shirts, anything? Okay. Banners on some cloth. You know, and if you see down here, this is where the t-shirts are. It looks nice. You know, you know what's I think, you know, say what's important with Extinction Rebellion is that people just come together. There's a get together, and yeah, it's just like time to wake up, people. You know, there are, you know, say, some issues out there. There are some, you know, say, issues out there which needs urgency. Like urgency meaning, you know, there has to be a international pressure on some of these things that's been going on for like climate change is evident. You know, if you go to certain part of, you know, the world, it's evident, and it's just great to have people here trying to voice their opinion, because at the end of the day, it's about voice for the voiceless, right? And that's why it's amazing turnout. We've got our Cuban folks out here, you know, but yeah, let's just go down that way. So, what do you think about the progress of Extinction Rebellion? Like, is it going anywhere or?
Good question.
Yeah.
We're movement building really at the moment.
Okay.
But there is resistance happening. You may know down the road that we stopped a delivery of petrol to a petrol station. There's other actions doing similar things with Just Stop Oil. But here it's more mobilising people and movement building.
Whatever training you are in, try to wrap up in the next 5 minutes, and then we are going to regroup in this field in front of me and talk about what's going to happen next on the day. In the meantime, please feel free to pick up some leaflets from these pink gazebos, and please feel free to pick up some amazing patches to show off your message to the world. Okay, so see you back here in a few minutes.